Hi Stonewall, I'm Onyx E. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. Glad to have you. Today we're going to be talking about character swaps. Character swap plots are very simple and non-linear. Whenever two characters swap, or in any capacity, congratulations, you have a character swap plot. But there are, technically three main things that normally happen with this, and main tropes with this, that you can really do anything with it. And there's not really a lot of rules when it comes down to it. I'm just going to be breaking down the different types and how they're normally applied. And also what you need to do to actually get it to be classified as one of those types. Now, type 1 is the most popular, especially in most stories that are in a TV show or problem of the week type format, because this is the one that you don't necessarily need to make the automatic main plot of the episode unless you absolutely wanted to. We're talking about the Freaky Friday. This comes from a movie trope or movie thing where the original comes from the movie of this title, though this is not exactly a new concept, and there's multiple versions of this movie and plot. The exact idea of it is that two characters, or more, one way or another, have found each other in each other's bodies. I worded that weirdly, but basically the two have swapped bodies. So now, one way or another, these characters are in each other's bodies and have to find a way to get out of them, and at the same time learning from each other and everything else because their perspectives have been changed. And probably also have to live everyday life because this is a massive circumstance that needs fixed. Because you can't just leave each other in each other's bodies. There are several things that you need to fix about the situation before it gets too weird. Now, when it comes down to this situation, it is very, very simple to start, but there are several things that you can do throughout it. Whether it be the characters need to learn a lesson or grow as each other and understand each other while doing this, or the characters are just dealing with another problem on top of everything else, or any number of things. Oftentimes, when it comes down to a Freaky Friday based plot, it's less of the style of how this happened and more of the characters have some reasons behind their why they're in this situation. Or it's just because it's funny in the shenanigans. And we love shenanigans. Now, the most common of it is two characters have been butting heads, and now they have to be in each other's shoes and walk a mile in them, along with everything else, and get this character's perspective and probably learn the truth behind the problem that they've been facing. This is the most common version of it because the original Freaky Friday plot revolved around overworked single mother and her teenage daughter not seeing eye to eye anymore and now have to live a day in each other's lives, as well as trying to figure out how to undo the situation and get back into their own bodies. Something else you can probably do with this is what Gravity Falls did, where the situation's not necessarily that Dipper and Mabel are butting heads, but it's also something else entirely. This episode opens up with Dipper and Mabel having fun as usual before Mabel has to cut it short because her friends are coming over for a sleepover. Now, because while at the Mystery Shack, Dipper and Mabel share a room, Dipper is kind of not exactly the most enthused person as a preteen boy stuck in a room with girls yelling in his face all night. No one enjoys that. So in his quest to get some sleep, he finds himself sleeping outside and preferring that to being inside in the same room as the girls, yelling. The next day, him and Mabel get into an argument about it, because apparently the two of them have been getting on each other's nerves as roommates. So they go to Grunkle Stan and ask him if they can have different rooms. The only problem with this is that Stan claims that there's only one room other than the attic in the shack, and that's his own, until Suits found a secret room in the shack. There's a lot of those in the Mystery Shack, huh? Kind of funny if you think about it, but Dipper and Mabel both want the new room, because despite both of them gonna be ending up with their own separate room by the end of it, if everything goes according to plan, both of them want the new one. So throughout the entire episode, well, not entire episode, the two are arguing at the very beginning and getting into a lot of, well, competitions to prove to Stan that they themselves should have the room. So, the two of them walk on this carpet while arguing, building up some electric shock, and then swap bodies. Because that carpet was an experiment. And definitely the experiment of the man that owns the journals. With it came with the two of them not only swapping bodies, but having a new way to mess with each other. Basically tormenting Stan so that they convince him to give the other or themselves the room, because they're in each other's bodies, and now Stan is just confused and kind of weirded out by their actions. Honestly, can't really blame him for that. There's also something else that comes up. While this whole situation was going on, Zeus and Waddles, Mabel's pig, swap bodies as well. And I don't know what the heck Waddles was doing while in Zeus's body, but apparently there was a lot of situations going on, and Zeus ended up getting a fiance for a short period of time. Oh my. Body swapping stories are weird. But through Dipper being pulled away while in Mabel's body into a sleepover, and Mabel accidentally getting the talk from Stan because he believes she's Dipper, the two of them are respectively traumatized from that. But because Mabel was acting like a jerk while in Dipper's body, and from what we see later on, Stan sees a lot of his younger, weaker self in Dipper, so he believes Dipper's finally manning up. So he gives Dipper, while Mabel's still in his body, the room, meaning that Dipper won the bet. So, after the entire scenario and the two finally get a chance to swap back, there's an entire situation where the entire room gets hit on shuffle while basically every and almost a lot of side characters get pulled into a different Freaky Friday, and it takes a minute to actually fix the situation. But it's revealed that neither of them really wanted to swap rooms or cared about getting it. They just kind of wanted to try something new. That's basically what it revolves around to, and they enjoy each other's company and stuff. But things change. Anyways, the episode ends with Dipper going back to the normal attic room, and the two just agreeing to be better roommates together. A lot of the time, the goal of Freaky Fridays isn't to completely uproot the status quo, but it's to help the characters understand it and grow into the status quo better while returning back to the status quo. A lot of status quo repairment, basically. You can also do something where the Freaky Friday isn't actually the main problem, it's just a cherry on top of all the other problems going on. That's what One Piece did. I would get it in several times throughout this video because I can. Deal with it! So what One Piece did for a Freaky Friday plot is have 4 of the Straw Hats basically get body shuffled, with Frankie and Chopper's body, Chopper and Sanji's body, Sanji living the dream in Nami's body, his dream, and Nami in Frankie's body, on top of all the other problems happening at Punk Hazard, which, if you would like me to list them, I will. It includes apparently a distress signal got sent out and someone is in danger of being attacked by a samurai whose now just only heads and his legs and his torso are somewhere else in the entire world. The Straw Hats have been split up between the two halves of the island. One is a burning hellscape and the other is a frozen tundra with barely anything living on it. There are several children that have been experimented on and are now addicted to drugs. Also, the children have been grown up to gigantic sizes and are scared to stay there, but also want to go home, but can't leave because of said drug problem. There's a warlord named Trafalgar Law there, who's the reason why they got body swapped. The characters have not only been split up, but Sunny could be in jeopardy, and Brooke is the only one left on the Sunny. There's centaur men running around with weird centaur body legs, along with several different masked men in body hazmat suits running around trying to capture them. There's an evil gas scientist guy who's there as well. The Marines are there, along with 2 other people that the Straw Hats know that are members of the Marines and have fought with before. Along with several other problems going on that I could list later, or not at all. But there's a lot of things going on. The Freaky Friday situation is only one of those. So, having that on top of this problematic cake leads to some shenanigans that could be funny, but is mostly just for the comedy and kind of, bit-based purposes. It's not really that much that happens while these characters are in each other's bodies. Meanwhile, other than Sanji kind of being way too happy to be in Nami's body. Nami being irritated at him for that. Frankie learning the hard way that Chopper's transformations are difficult. And I don't think Chopper had any difficulty until he got back into his body. And it also gets resolved pretty quickly in about only took a handful of episodes of them in each other's bodies by the time they got Trafalgar Law on their side. And the only one that stayed there in a different body for the majority of the time was Nami, who ended up in Sanji's body because he ran off with the samurai head to go find his torso. It's a whole thing. So the entire Freaky Friday plot was just a small problem compared to everything else during this entire arc, where it doesn't have much stand-in and gets solved before they even get to the midway climax of it. And in fact, it's not even a big problem when it does get eventually fixed. The only thing that really comes out of it is Chopper can't move for a little bit because Frankie thought it would be a good idea to go into Monster Point. Freaky Fridays can only be as complicated or as uncomplicated as the plot needs it to be. You can make it just a comedic gag, or something that actually has great stakes on the plot, or just for funnies, or it's actively the main plot of this entire story. That's why there's so many movies with the concept of these 2 people swap bodies and now have to live a day in each other's lives. It's like a common thing. Look up movies with that plot, and I guarantee at least 50 will come up. It's a simple plot with a simple sets of things. Similar to the next point in this list, The Prince and the Pauper. Now, this story is basically 2 people swap places. Actively swap places and not just bodies. These 2 are most likely identical and have now swapped places for one reason or another. Whether they be royalty and not ready to get married but want to have some adventures, or one of them accidentally gets disguised as the other in mistaken identity, or someone goes undercover as someone that they know that is very similar looking to them, or they're mistaken for someone, or any number of problems related to this, where 2 people who are fairly identical swap places for one reason or another. And all of it is normally played for comedy, less for drama, and oftentimes it's just a inciting incident into a plot rather than the main plot. And this oftentimes is completely willing on both people's parts rather than just one. Whether the characters are apparently secret twins or known twins, or just happen to look very, very alike, like copy-paste, maybe the only difference is a birthmark or hair color. It's a very, very simple plot, but you can do hundreds of things with it. Because that's not most likely not the main problem going on with the two characters happening. And it's not even the main story setting part type thing. It's just two characters trying to do something while in each other's shoes. Literally. Oftentimes, it's just giving them this perspective or experiencing something different that they haven't had the chance to do yet. Honestly, it's a pretty interesting thing and a very, very commonly done plot. All of these are commonly done because they're very simple and have any number of different changes associated with it that you can do with it. It is very, very simple and easy to do because it's a fun plot that doesn't take a lot of thought behind it. And even it could be a major climactic moment for the series. Back to Gravity Falls because I can do whatever I want to do because I can do. That made absolutely no sense, but Gravity Falls ended with the crew defeating Bill Cipher, but the only way that they could do it is tricking him. Shannon Ford, being the original set of Pines twins, simply swapped places because while Ford had a massive amount of information that Bill could use, and that was the only way that they could actually get out of the situation and defeat him, he also had a steel plate in his head that would prevent him from being memory wiped, and that would be the only way that they could actually erase Bill from his memory. While Stan may have not had a metal plate in his head that would prevent him from being memory wiped, he also had no relevant information that Bill would care for. So, they swap places. And one of the most dramatic moments in the entirety of Trinity, it plays out, and one of the most sad moments that is later changed, was Stan eventually getting his memories back. Basically right away, because they couldn't leave it on a sour note like that. It's plain and simple. But that's how a character swapping plot can happen. It's that simple of two characters willingly swapping places just so that a bad guy doesn't get the information because he got the wrong person, while the wrong person looks exactly like the person that they needed. Okay, it's a simple point of mistaken identity that is very, very easy to make. And very interesting when it happens because it gives the characters a lot of wiggle room of how they led up to this point. Now, time for the third blow. I'm sorry. Okay, time for the third type. Case of the Body Snatchers. Or, we got an imposter. I am so sorry. I promise this entire segment isn't just going to be Among Us jokes. So, Case of the Body Snatchers, or we have an imposter amongst our midst type of character swap, involves the characters rather than two characters or protagonists that we are rooting for, or a morally gray character being swapped with a morally good character, or any number of things that you can do with two characters swapping bodies or places. The main threat, or a major threat, has taken place of the original and taken their form, if not their entire body. It is an ongoing threat while they're picking off everyone else. I am so sorry, but Among Us, if you don't know what Among Us is, it's a game that plays by this exact same plot, and it became very popular during the time of 2020 because it's such a simple game and it has a lot of co-op stuff with it. But, oh my... Case of the Body Snatchers. Basically, the plot of it followed several crewmates in space, realizing that there is an imposter amongst their midst, and they either have to vote out the imposters or complete all their tasks to make it out and make it to their next destination safely. While the imposters, who are also players, have to, kill everyone else, and they win if there's the same number of crewmates as there is imposters still alive. It's a very simple premise for a game. It's like Mafia or any number of different games that revolve around there is someone that shouldn't be here and is also trying to kill everyone. This is a very heavy-handed, very heavy and dark type of plot, because oftentimes it's going to strain characters' trust in each other so deeply. Because there's probably going to be at least one moment of, are you the real you? Or say something that the only really character C would be able to say, or something. Cases of the body snatchers are oftentimes, if not the main plot, a plot that is happening throughout an episode when they realize that there's something else going on. It's going to be a situation where oftentimes characters are being picked off one by one, and you don't know who to trust. Or it's a small part of the ongoing plot of the arc where one character has the ability to take shape of everyone else. This is what One Piece did. And yes, I'm bringing this back up again because I can do what I want. During the Alabasta arc, the crew is dealing with Baroque Works, an organization that is made up of very, very strong people with amazing powers. Mr. 2, also known as Bon Clay, is one of them. He has the power of the clone fruit. All he has to do is touch someone's face, and bam, he can transform into them, and can do that at any point, no limit, no cap, and he cannot forget a face. So yeah, before they know he's Mr. 2, he comes onto their ship, they become friends, and he gets most of their faces, minus Sanji, because Sanji is slick. He comes, they realize that he's Mr. 2, and now they know that they could be infiltrated at any time once they enter Alabasta. So their solution is simple. Get marks. They basically add a little marking to the back of their forearm and to make sure it's double safe, they cover it with a bandage to make people think that's the mark. So it's a double mark just to be safe. Because while Mr. 2 is not psychic, they had no clue if they had informants everywhere else that could inform them about their little trick. So that's what they do throughout the entirety of Alabasta. And even that is revealed, and they have to go through a whole other loophole to figure out that, well, Bon Clay is Bon Clay. Well, he eventually did come back to their side because they became friends! If you've never watched One Piece or are not, or I've only watched it recently and have never met Bon Clay, everyone in the One Piece community loves Bon Clay and wishes he would join the Straw Hats. Moving forward with this, you can also do a reveal where a character who we've probably known for seasons or known for a very long time is revealed to not be who they say they are, and is revealed to be an imposter of that person. It is a massively earth-shaking revelation for fans to learn that a character who they've probably grown to love or have a lot of respect for turns out to be an imposter wearing that character's skin, and they've been either dead for years or still alive and come back. It is a massive, game-changing thing if it's done correctly, or a very tired plot if it's done incorrectly. It's always up in the air if it's done correctly. But with the story that's the case of the Body Snatchers, characters will have their fear and trust in each other tested. This is what happens in Gravity Falls. And yes, I'm bringing it up again. Don't care. I do what I want. Into the bunker, Dipper, Mabel, Wendy, and Seuss go down into a bunker and discover someone that they believe is the author, but turns out is a shapeshifter posing as the author and is actually there to get the journals, break out, and profit? So the crew has to defeat the shapeshifter, and despite it not being a long-standing plot, throughout the entire story of the shapeshifters as threat, they still, have the problem of dealing with the shapeshifter and get in a moment of they don't know who's the shapeshifter and who's the real one. And dang. Yeah, in later episodes of Gravity Falls, the writers and animators legitimately just say, duck those kids and their nightmares. We're giving them some new ones. Dang. Yeah, with the case of the Body Snatchers, it's often a massive threat that the characters need to figure out who is actually the bad guy and who's, the good guy. It's basically something that you can either do with a supernatural or shape-shifting or magic type of situation, or you can legitimately just make it a murder mystery-based plot with no replacement or shape-shifting going on, or mistaken identity. So when it comes down to it, let's wrap it up for today. So it's time for a summary. Freaky Friday plots involve two characters swapping bodies and having to deal with that shenanigan. Two characters swapping places is known as either simply characters swapping places, or The Prince and the Pauper, with two characters swapping places to experience each other's lives, or a case of mistaken identity, and now they have to live that person's life without anyone else realizing. Or, in cases of the Body Snatcher, the character has been replaced by a fake, and now the other characters have to figure out who's been replaced, who's on their side, and put up with a fake one picking them off one by one. Well, that's my thoughts. Tell me yours down in the comments down below. Question of the day. Which of these is your favorite trope in media? Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you like this video. And tell me what you want to hear more of down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today. As for me, I'm off to fight the men.